Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to talk all about AEW Revolution, which unfortunately closed on a whimper and not a bang.
Christian Cage is all elite.
Who else is all elite? Ethan Page, him.
And AEW announced Double or Nothing for May 2021. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Sleepy Murray.
And this is the news.
All right, so let's kick things off by talking about the closing scene for AEW Revolution, which has just ended like half an hour ago or whatever. We're recording this straight after the show. This is all people are talking about right now, and it's kind of a shame because it undermines the efforts of the wrestlers and everything else, but it is what it is. The show closed on a majorly disappointing visual. So Kenny Omega ended up beating Jon Moxley in the exploding barbed wire death match with the help of the Good Brothers. He hit one final one-winged angel onto a chair for the victory. Moxley was a beaten, bloodied mess, but the countdown, the 30-minute timer for the ring exploding, for the whole ring exploding, we were led to believe that was going to happen, was still ticking. They kept the beatdown going. The heels did. They bound Moxley. They left him helpless. They beat him up. They bloodied him even more. They took the barbed wire to his flesh even more. Oh. The clock hit the 1 minute mark. There's sirens. There's a countdown. There's everything. People start panicking, and understandably so, because the ring's going to explode. You're led to believe that the ring's going to explode. It keeps going, it keeps going, it ticks away. We get to the point where the heels escape. They get to safety, they save their own hides, they're on the ramp, they're going to be fine. Jon Moxley is still in the ring. Who marches out? The perfect guy for this moment. This looked like it was going to be the perfect post-match angle. It's Eddie Kingston. The respect between Jon Moxley and him has always been there, no matter how personally this thing got between them, no matter how brutal their feud became, and it did become brutal. But they're cut from the same cloth. They're street dudes. They're tough. They're gritty. They're hard. They're not Kenny Omega. Kingston gets in the ring. He panics. He realizes, I cannot get Jon Moxley out of here before this thing explodes. What does he do? He throws his body like Captain America. He takes the grenade from Moxley. He throws himself down on Moxley's body to try and save him. The countdown expires. The explosion happens, and it's couple of sparklers in the corner. It's a couple of fireworks, a couple of puffs of smoke. It's nothing really. There were more drastic explosions, it felt like, in the match itself, and this was the one we were building up to at the end. So Kingston, who was in a really tough position here, like no criticism to him whatsoever, he had to sell this thing like death because that was the angle. And it just made him and Moxley both look very, very silly when you have this kind of really whimpery, puffy, just kind of when you're expecting this mad explosion. Now, this has happened before in death matches. In the exploding barbed wire death match, the most famous one, Onita versus Funk, is a very similar thing where Onita wins the match and then the countdown's still going and he has to come into the ring to shield Funk, who's been defeated, from the big explosion at the end. And it is a big explosion. So you can do these things safely, but still shockingly and loud and visually stunning and explosive and everything. Unfortunately, that didn't happen here. The wrestlers, the bookers were just kind of let down by the pyrotechnic team. And it's a real shame because it's all people are going to be talking about when it comes to this match. And these guys put their bodies on the line for the whole thing. I feel really bad for them. We should mention, I've rabbited a lot here, I'm very sorry. We should mention that Moxley cut a promo afterwards that went untelevised, but people caught who were in the building and said, hey, Kenny Omega's really tough, but he can't build a bomb worth an SHIT, which is, saves face a little bit, but you're never going to delete that image, are you?
No. Yeah, it was just
a farce.
Like, there was a split second of watching it on the stream, and I've been wincing and hiding behind this cushion for a lot of it, and then busting each other open, and then the bit where Doc Gallows is just beating him up, and then they rub the barbed wire baseball bat over his head just to cut him open even more. And there was a bit where I thought, is this part of some big scheme? Is Kenny Omega going to come out? And it's weird, but why would he? Would he come out and be like, there wasn't actually ever going to be a big explosion, you fool, or whatever? And then I was like, oh no, this is just one of the worst botches at the worst possible time. I mean, it's all speculation I'm reading on Twitter at the moment, so I have no idea if any of this is true. It's just what I'm reading. But there's people saying like 80% of the pyro is still to, and whether that failed or we don't know what happened. But like you say, Andy, it completely undercut what would have been a spectacular angle right in Moxley off telly, so he can go off and have the birth of his child with Renee Paquette. It was very relieved there was less of an explosion after what she'd just seen her husband go through. But that wonderful sort of cathartic coming together of Kingston and Moxley, who'd been at war last year. God, it was just so disappointing. And like you say, it's from a match where they exploded and sliced each other open. All people are going to remember is that god-awful botched ending. It's not even an end. It's not. The ending implies the finish to the match. The finish to the match was fine. The closing image, when you talk about shows having a go home shot ahead of a pay per view. This is the go home at the end of the pay per view, and all fart and no. Yeah, I've seen bigger explosions on the 4th of July, and we don't celebrate the 4th of July here in England, so there you go. Oh, just so disappointing. But anyway, let's talk about some of the other stuff from this pay-per-view. Much advertised, of course, alongside all the title matches and stuff. One of which was, of course, the Hall of Famer, or the Hall of Fame worthy, I should say, name that was going to be signing with AEW. And it was revealed prior to the street fight in the main event to be one Christian Cage. Gone back and forth quite a lot on this. There had been misreporting. We even heard it ourselves and reported it as truth that no, he was contracted to WWE and that was all dealt with, because of course they would do that. They wouldn't have someone appear at the Rumble and then not have him contracted. He wasn't contracted. He signed with AEW. No word as to how long the 47-year-old's contract is with AEW, although I believe Tony Khan claimed beforehand it was going to be a multi-year deal. Now, I saw a mixed reaction to this on our comments for the stream, Andy. I don't know what it's been like on social media. I genuinely haven't had time to look. I feel like AEW got a bit unlucky with this because they didn't put out there, it's going to be CM Punk, it's going to be Brock Lesnar, it's going to be John Cena. They very specifically worded this. They even had Paul White come out on the show tonight, last night, whatever you want to call it, and say, he outworks everyone. It's going to be a surprise, etc., etc. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse. Yes, some people may have expected a Kurt Angle but Kurt Angle used this platform to promote his podcast. That's what the video was about over the weekend. Christian is. Look at the reaction when Christian returned at the Royal Rumble. He's not someone who the mutants will go, Christian. Look at the reaction when he returned at the Royal Rumble, first of all. Look at his sodding body now, Andy Murray. That he's got lots of unfinished business he wants to do in the ring. And yet again, it's another great wrestling brain that AEW can benefit from. I feel like they've been a little bit unlucky. They haven't brought all of this on themselves, AEW.
So, I mean, there's lots to unpack for this, more than perhaps the runtime today will allow. But, I think with the way it had kind of built up, and AEW are partly responsible a little bit. I'll disagree with you to a certain extent. I think
they've fanned the flames. I'll admit that. Yeah,
for sure. They fanned them, but not to the degree, not to the full extent. A lot of us on social media have been going, "Hey, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and all this stuff," and it got to the point where if it wasn't one of those names, inevitably some people were going to be upset, and some people were not going to think it was big enough. I did a poll on Twitter before the show and said, "Hey, if it's Christian, are you going to be annoyed? Are you going to be disappointed?" And it was like 50-50 pretty much the whole way. So I'm not 100% surprised by the result, but I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think AEW, Paul White showed his hand a little bit on Dynamite when he said Hall of Fame worthy, because when you talk who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, Christian's like one of the first few names that comes up over the past few years, right? Everyone says Christian. Everyone loves Christian. I think this is going to be a really cool run. I think he has plenty still to offer. He's in great shape. He's been cleared to compete. he's obviously very charismatic. He's Captain Charisma, mate. Of course he's very charismatic. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he meshes with the new generation. With the way this played out, I was dubious myself as to whether or not I would be happy with Christian. But when I watched him come out, when I heard his TNA music playing, I was like, this is cool. This is cool. Yeah. I think this is pretty sick. He's signed. He was on WWE TV 6 weeks ago or whatever. People jumping ship is fun. This is fun. I'm looking forward to it.
The only downside to all this, Andy Murray, we're not going to get that Big E Christian match that I was still looking forward to. But look at this as a segue, despite the fact it's 6 o'clock in the morning and me and Andy have been awake forever. That wasn't the only big new signing announced on last night's or tonight's, or I have no idea what day it is, show, Andy Murray.
Ethan Page, all ego Ethan Page. 3 months, 2 months, 3 months? 3 months, let's say that. After leaving Impact Wrestling, his contract expired in December, but he was on Impact TV until January because of how their tapings work. Ethan Page arrived as part of the Face of the Revolution ladder match. He was the 6th man in that, and he looked great. He entered a really good showing in the ladder match. He didn't win. Scorpio Sky won, but Ethan Page can be very proud of what he put forth. It's kind of a no-brainer pickup for me. The guy's really charismatic. He's got a great look. He has worked really, really hard to sharpen his game over the year. He's TV ready. There's so much you can do with him. Maybe if Josh Alexander wants to come over, you can reunite the North. We've got that working relationship, haven't we, brother? I think it's a no-brainer to pick up. Ethan Page is a really smart guy to have on your roster. I have nothing but good things to say about this. I think he's going to be a very good addition to the roster. And he is signed as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, a great pickup. I saw some people in our comments. I think it's a lot of this is performative. I've got to be honest. We were going, who's this? Never heard of him, blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
that's on them. Yeah.
It wasn't going to be RVD and Christian or whatever. It was always going to be, but I think he's a fantastic pickup. I think I'm really excited to see what he does in AEW. He's someone who I've been aware of and enjoyed watching, but never really watched on a full-time basis because I didn't watch Impact Wrestling week in and week out, etc., etc. But he comes with an incredible, a really impressive set of accomplishments, and like you say, just this aura of someone who's clearly going to be a star going forward. And I was watching him in that ladder match and thinking, oh, Mike, maybe he's setting up like a feud with Cody because he was halfway close to getting the Sonic the Hedgehog ring that they were all trying to grab for some reason. And then got knocked off the ladder. But yeah, great to have him in the match. And also someone who isn't so big that if you put their name in that match and then they don't win, you think, hang on a second, what they've already messed him up before he's even started. So exciting to see what happens with him next. And maybe, look at this, we're nailing it, Andy. I've had too much coffee to try and get me through these final few hours. Maybe we'll see him at AEW's next pay-per-view. AEW have officially turned heel, Andy Murray, because their next pay-per-view is going to be on Sunday. I've stolen your tweet. I do apologise for that. It was a spectacular tweet. It made me laugh out loud. Double or Nothing will go down on Sunday. Oh, bloody typical. Sunday, the 30th of May. I've just said that. Yes. I've not got my notes in front of me anymore. But yes, Sunday, the 30th of May. It's obviously, where it all began. I think Tony Schiavone even said 2 years on. It's going to go down in Jacksonville as well. And very excited and not that far away. Obviously, they sort of condensed them down throughout the year. 2-month period, 2.5-month period in between them. Excited to see what they build to. But yes, 30th of May. Put that in your diaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Selfishly, as a content creator who lives in Britain and has to stay up till 4, 5, 6 in the morning to watch these things, I'm very upset and heartbroken and devastated. But going by the response on my timeline, I think most people prefer Sundays in the United States. So fair play. I'm not entirely surprised that it's going to be a Sunday, not a Saturday. Double or Nothing's confirmed. Next big pay-per-view to work towards. Let the build commence. Get Eddie Kingston in a big program, man. Get Eddie back in a big spotlight heading into that event, please. Particularly after that ending. That's all we want. That's all we want.
Exactly. And if you need an easy way to remember it, it's the day after my brother-in-law's birthday. So there you go. That's going to be an easy day to remember. Let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed and all the fallout from AEW Revolution in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from for daily wrestling podcasts. We'll have the Raw preview out later on today, where no doubt we'll briefly mention our thoughts on AEW Revolution, and probably available right now, our review of AEW Revolution. Me and Michael Hamflett whispering so as to not wake up the neighbours on what we made of that god-awful ending to the pay-per-view. But also, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and watch there. Follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. H stands for, hey, I'm going to bed.
Me too. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. We will see you soon.